Hello and welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. A big ski to you all. Of course, I am coming to you from my secret lair here somewhere in Arizona. I am your mayor, occasionally known as Derek Montilla. Jesse is coming to you from somewhere sweet and wholesome, obviously. He is the vice mayor and your thunderstick, Jesse Friedman. Jesse pointed out before the show started the difference between our two backgrounds, and it's noticeable. It's noticeable for sure. Also, I'm in the dark and Jesse is very much in the light. I think everything here is a perfect metaphor for us as people, Jesse. But we have been covering the Arizona Diamondbacks and their pursuit of a designated hitter. And it would appear there is a new rumor connecting them to talks with Joc Pederson to potentially replace Tommy Pham. And as Jesse pointed out to me through text message, that's objectively hilarious.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, this would be like a 1-for-1 replacement of Tommy Pham for Joc Pederson, which is, I mean, all the storylines there are just absolutely lovely. But yeah, Joc Pederson is a name that we've talked about before on the show as a potential target for the Diamondbacks. Mike Hazen made it clear after the Lourdes Gurriel signing that he wasn't just looking for a right-handed DH, that he would consider left-handed options as well. And there aren't that many of those available in free agency. Joc Pederson certainly the most prominent name there.
Well, we've talked about Joc Pederson in the past, and that his numbers are very, very, very much different versus right-handed pitching versus left-handed pitching. And this almost feels like if this is the situation, that maybe the Diamondbacks might be pursuing another option, and kind of he would be like a platoon DH. But I do believe we have his numbers from 2023. So let's take a look at those.
Or maybe we don't.
There we go. Maybe we do. There they are. Average 235 with a 348 OPS and a 416 slug. Oh, they went away again. 15 home runs, 51 RBI, and a 0.6 WAR. Someone pointed out, by the way, Jesse, that I'm not the only one that says WAR the same way that as that when I'm talking about baseball WAR, which is different than WAR. But
yeah,
anyway,
you should be happy that you're not completely alone in that.
I am.
Yeah, these numbers aren't great. 235, 348, 416. Yeah, I mean, good but not great, right?
Yeah.
Joc Pederson, kind of an interesting story. He had an excellent 2022 season with the San Francisco Giants, an OPS of nearly 900. And the Giants were hoping to get a draft pick, presumably, when he departed in free agency. They offered him the qualifying offer, and he took the qualifying offer. So Joc Pederson played for the Giants again in 2023 and made almost $20 million. I think it was like 19.6 was the qualifying offer that he took in 2023. And, 0.6 wins above replacement on Fangraphs. I don't think he was quite a $20 million player in 2023. But yeah, as you said, he's certainly a platoon bat, a guy who has really never hit lefties all that well in 2023. /186, 327, 279 against lefties. You're going to want to protect him from left-handed pitching as much as possible, but he was still an asset against righties. He hit 241, 351, 435 there, which is still a far cry from where he was in 2022, but that would add value for the Diamondbacks for sure. If Joc Pederson was on the Diamondbacks tomorrow, he would on paper become their third best hitter against right-handed pitching. Only Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte had a higher WRC plus against righties last year than Joc Pederson did.
So would you see, if they did go to Joc Pederson, would you foresee like maybe again Torey being able to use the against left-handed pitching, just kind of the guy he's giving the day off to DH, and then against right-handed pitching, Joc would be in the lineup as the DH? Is that the foreseeable way that you would play things here?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to come up with something for that DH slot against lefties for sure. It could certainly be used to give guys occasional days off. Have Christian Walker every once in a while, DH instead of playing first base or whatnot. But yeah, in-house, I don't know if the Diamondbacks have like that ideal platoon partner. If you were to have Joc in there against righties, you would want to have at least someone who could kind of balance that against left-handed pitching. I'm not sure the D-backs really have that guy. We talked about Kevin Newman potentially being that guy. Someone they just brought in on a minor league deal recently who had really good numbers against lefties in 2023. So, but yeah, I don't know if Kevin Newman is necessarily guaranteed a spot on this roster. So it would be interesting to see how they would handle it against lefties. There aren't any obvious solutions there that I'm aware of.
Would this rule out still potentially getting another DH or another hitter along with Joc Pederson?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I guess in an ideal world, no. If you're able to get Joc Pederson for a little bit less, maybe you have a little money left over to go get a right-handed hitter who can just play part-time. Maybe be more of a bench player who starts against lefties fairly often.
But that would rule
yeah,
out the top guys that we've been talking about, like JD Martinez and Jorge Soler.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And I'm guessing that if you are getting Joc Pederson, it's probably because the price tags for JD Martinez and Jorge Soler are not exactly what you like. And so I mean, if you're getting Joc Pederson in the first place, it probably means you didn't have the money for a JD Martinez or a Joc Pederson, or for JD Martinez or a Jorge Soler. In which case, I'm not, I would be somewhat doubtful that the Diamondbacks would have money to go out and get someone else.
Well, let's take a look at Jesse's favorite pastime, which is baseball Savant. Yes. And let's take a look at Joc Pederson's Savant page, because there's a lot of red here. Like this Savant page for me doesn't really match up with his numbers from last year. It feels like he should have been a much better hitter statistically with these numbers than he was.
Absolutely. Yeah. Joc Pederson underperformed his peripherals by quite a bit in 2023. And I think that's probably the biggest argument in his favor, is that while his numbers weren't quite as good in 2023, the underlying numbers were still quite strong. In 2022, his baseball Savant page was ridiculous. I mean, it was JD Martinez-esque pretty much across the board. 2023, though, it's not quite to that level, but still very good. And I looked at his splits from the first half to the second half. He actually put up pretty good numbers in the first half of the Giants, kind of faded in the second half. But his expected stats were considerably better than his actual stats in both the first half and the second half of the season. So, I think there's a lot of evidence here that Joc Pederson is a better player than the numbers that he put up in 2023. And whatever team that signs him probably believes that there's a decent chance that he's able to actually put up the kind of numbers that, some of the StatCast metrics suggested for him moving forward.
This is the opposite of when you say a guy got lucky and then try to qualify what you mean by lucky when they had a good season, right? This is kind of the opposite. Yeah. Everything here in theory says he's a good hitter and a much better hitter than he was, but got a little unlucky. And we've seen that in the past. We saw that with Christian Walker over a considerable stretch at one point, right, where his peripherals were good. But I mean, that's the kind of thing that the change of scenery, change of team, change of environment that you're hitting in, like hitting here at Chase Field versus hitting in San Francisco. There's a lot of differences there that could benefit him. I will say that as much as we've made jokes about it, I don't love this, but I still love this more than not doing anything. Right. I think that, again, the DH and especially assessing some of your hitting weaknesses right now that the team kind of as a whole have, that could be a big benefit, even if it's not going to bring in a guy like Soler that's going to be a big slugger that's going to get a lot of dingers. There's still a chance that Pederson could turn things around here and have a much better season than he did last year and fulfill that missing kind of, strength there that to hit, against right-handed pitching.
Yeah. A big part of this comes down to, how much do you think you need an extra bat in the lineup against lefties? Because as we just talked about, Joc Pederson is not really that. Are you fairly comfortable with where you're at right now against lefties, and you're just looking for some extra thump against righties? And I do think that there's some evidence that that the Diamondbacks might need more help against righties right now than against lefties. In 2023, they were a better team against righties than lefties, but when Jack Summers was on the show a few weeks ago, we broke down kind of how that happened. It was very weird. The team gave a lot of at-bats to Nick Ahmed, against lefties, and obviously he was just awful. It was like a 400 OPS or something. He really tanked their numbers against lefties. There were a couple of other guys. Tommy Pham mysteriously was not good at all against lefties with the Diamondbacks, was better against righties. So I think there were some kind of weird things that happened in 2023 that made it look like this team was better against righties than they were against lefties. In reality, when I look at the lineup right now, I actually see a team that's kind of lacking in thump against righties. I mean, you've got Corbin Carroll, who is going to be an elite level producer there. You certainly expect that. Ketel Marte was well above average against righties in 2023. But as I said earlier, Joc Pederson would be the third best hitter on this team, at least based on 2023 numbers against right-handed pitching. What's also interesting is Joc Pederson was better against righties than Jorge Soler in 2023. Jorge Soler did so much of his damage against lefties. He was like otherworldly good against left-handed pitching. So if the concern is primarily to address your offense against righties, Joc Pederson, I think, actually does make quite a bit of sense.
You know what my solution to this problem is, Jesse?
Just sign JD Martinez.
Jorge Pederson.
Of course.
Once again,
there you go.
Once again, like JD Soler, Jorge Pederson. Jorge Pederson is the answer here. But he's projected to get 2 years, $24 million, which seems like more money than I want to pay him. But again, that's Fangraph's projection. So not sure if the Diamondbacks would go for a multi-year deal. Maybe at this point, the talks are more a 1-year deal with some sort of option for a second year if he does have a successful season here. But I do think that move does price them out of the market. And essentially, I think the remaining moves there are still a backup catcher, maybe another reliever that isn't going to cost them very much. But outside of that, I don't see them being able to afford much more than paying, Joc Pederson somewhere in the neighborhood between 12 and, potentially more, for one season.
I could see a 1-year deal happening with Joc Pederson. I don't think Fangraphs is outrageous in their 2 years, 24 million projection. I think that's their crowdsourced projection.
But spending 12 million at least this year, unless it's one of those deals where it's 2 years and they kind of put more of the money into next year and allow that Madison Bumgarner contract to fall off, it feels like they're kind of tapped out if they do go for a 12-year deal. Or 12-year. No one's signing Joc Pederson to a 12-year deal. $12 million deal for one season.
I'm really curious to see kind of where the price tag is for Joc Pederson relative to Soler and Martinez, because I think the difference could be fairly significant. If you're talking about a 1-year deal for Pederson instead of 2, 3, maybe even up to 4 for Jorge Soler. And I think you're easily into the $16 to $18 million range for Martinez and Soler. If Pederson is 10 million, which I don't necessarily expect, but I could see it being possible. I mean, we just mentioned 0.6 Fangraphs wins above replacement. That's a pretty low number to be getting more than $10 million per season. So I think there's some bargain potential here for the Diamondbacks to maybe save quite at least a decent amount of money getting Joc Pederson. And again, it's never totally been clear to me whether the team really had the money or was willing to spend the money to go get Soler or Martinez. And so I guess in some ways Pederson would be viewed as kind of the consolation prize, kind of settling for a little bit of a lower tier player. But there are reasons to believe that Joc Pederson could come in next year, and at least against right-handed pitching, there's a very real chance that Joc Pederson is better than Soler and possibly even JD Martinez as he potentially regresses a little bit moving forward. So I don't think anyone who thinks that Pederson is like not even at all in the same class as Soler and Martinez, I don't really agree with that. He's clearly a step below. But I think there's a world in which Pederson winds up giving the Diamondbacks a similar amount of value in 2024.
With players like Pederson, I really like the idea of incentive-based contracts where you lay out certain goals for them to hit, tiers for them to hit, and should they hit it, then that that increases their contract. I think for someone like Joc, that gives him something to play for, something to earn some more money about. And if he can produce in a certain manner, then it's worth the money to pay him that extra amount. But I mean, again, that's just that's just me, I guess, siding with owners or something. I don't know, because apparently players don't like those kind of deals. But hey, again, I feel like all of sports should have more incentive based contracts that allow players to, obviously be paid and compensated regardless, regardless of how they perform. But should they perform at an all-star caliber level, I think that they deserve more money. And I think that should be something that you could work out where, again, you're not going to expect Joc Pederson to come in and play at an all-star caliber level, but should he be able to produce a decent amount of RBI and take a certain number of at bats and be above a certain batting average or something like that, something to that extent, certain OPS, that's something that is controllable to an extent by him, and again, could be very beneficial for both parties. Now, Mike Hazen made some comments today about being a bit more open-minded about having a full-time designated hitter, which he was hesitant about in the past. I feel like his philosophy there lines up a bit with Torrey's. We know Torrey likes having players, like having a situational managing or ability to manage the situations, as he sees fit, right? That's the reason why he went with the closer by committee last year, which in theory makes sense still. Closer by committee still makes so much sense in theory, right? Because it's just a relief pitcher situation. And if you tie yourself to one guy, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, considering that maybe another guy in your bullpen would be a better matchup in that ninth inning against the three guys that are taking it at bat. However, as we saw, it was a disaster. It does not work, and we're never doing it again. So don't ever talk about it. But when it comes to the DH, I feel like that's something that Mike and Torrey probably saw eye to eye on, as far as utilizing it in a different way rather than having that full-time designated hitter.
I think that's a really good comparison that you made between the closer role and the DH role. Because the closer role on paper, you can be like, well, we've got several guys who can slot in, will play the matchups and whatnot. And in some ways, that's how the team has viewed the DH role in recent years. Where it's kind of a revolving door. There's several different guys in there, but as we saw with the closer role, the committee thing is all fun and games until you realize no member of the committee is actually capable of being very good in that spot. And I think it's the same with the Diamondbacks plans at DH, where if you do use that as kind of a revolving door position, if you are using it primarily to just get guys off their feet, that means you're tapping into your bench players in order to fill out your lineup. And the DH spot is not, ideally you want to get a lot of offense from that spot, because there's obviously no defensive value there. So if the Diamondbacks can find a way, I absolutely think it's the right move for the team to commit to not necessarily a DH for 160 games or whatever, but a DH who can bring some real thump into this lineup.
Yeah.
Because it's absolutely something the Diamondbacks need. I mean, this team, for as far as they went in 2023, they were about a league average offensive team in the regular season. It's as Dan Szymborski said, the other day on this show, the Diamondbacks aren't a team that can afford to really, just kind of keep what they had offensively. They did add Eugenio Suarez, which I think was an upgrade, but you like to do more than that this offseason to really bring your offense to another level.
And I had a clarification for that. It was Patrick Lyons that sent us that. And actually, he said, dating back to 2017, Eugenio Suarez is 6th in Major League Baseball in home runs. And again, that's not something we talk about enough, I don't think, about what he is going to add. We often talk about the power needed. And I think we just brought this up the other day when talking about this exact subject. But again, don't underestimate what Suarez is going to bring to this lineup. Like you said, though, when you have the ability to have a guy in the lineup that does nothing but hit, that really, there's a lot of guys out there that can do that well, but they can't do the defensive side of the ball well, right? So if you are missing out on a chance to have a guy as a part of your roster that is just there to mash, and do nothing but hit the ball, that's something that you never really had before. I mean, I know Mike Hazen at one point was in the American League, so I think he would understand the benefit of having a designated hitter like this. But it really does feel like, again, the Diamondbacks quite often try to find somebody that's that's versatile, that can do multiple things. We talked about that with Rhys Hoskins. That's a guy that, again, almost would feel like a waste to bring in and just have him DH with what he still has left in the tank. Chances are the Diamondbacks wouldn't have done that. They probably would have utilized him in several other ways throughout the season just to have his bat in the lineup. And again, utilize him to, maybe give Christian Walker some time off, maybe more than they were planning to. But in this case, they could save a considerable amount of money potentially and get a guy that does nothing but hit. But
I mean, he does play defense a little bit. So I think if the Diamondbacks sign Joc Pederson, I think it is very likely that you would see him in the field occasionally. He played actually a few different positions in 2023 with the Giants. 79 games at DH, 32 in left field, 6 in right field, as well as 2 at first base. So again, there's not a lot of value there. He's not great at it. I think Jesse, if you want Joc Pederson to be valuable, you want to play him in the field as little as possible. But he does give you more flexibility than JD Martinez.
Why do I don't want to attack this man's age. I don't want to attack his abilities anymore. Oh, that got really bright fast once I bring up Baseball Reference. But Joc Pederson, right? 31 years old. This man, as our producer Damon pointed out to us in our chat when screaming about potentially going after him, led his high school football team in receiving yards. And Devontae Adams was on the same team. Make it make sense. Make it make sense why he can't still play defensively. I don't know why he can't still play defensively, because that man with those kind of athletic abilities should still be out there in the field somewhere. But
I don't think he was ever really all that great of an outfielder. He was all right for a while, but more so in a corner. He was never really a true center fielder in the majors.
So Hazen, according to his talk with Nick Picoro, said the club is very active in its search for a bat. Team does remain in touch with free agent options like Joc Pederson, I imagine. And Hazen said that the trade market was heated over the past week. What do you interpret that means? Heated over the last week? Like in my circle, that means they were screaming at each other over trades, right? Which very much applies to this Joc Pederson, like Tommy Pham situation. But what do you think
everyone's frustrated with the market, right? So I mean, it's bound to get heated eventually. Like people are just like, why won't you trade such and such player? And naturally, it's only human nature to resort to throwing things and whatnot, as you said. Yes. No, I'm guessing that's probably not happening, but it does track with what we were talking about the other day with things potentially heating up here soon. It seems like this DH search is going to be resolved in the relatively near future, likely while I'm on vacation, as we touched on the other day. That certainly what's going to happen. That feels inevitable, but and he does mention trades. He does mention trades, which is something that I think it's important that we don't forget about. There are some options in the trade market. We've talked about Eloy Jimenez, Anthony Santander from the Orioles, if they wound up being willing to trade one of their outfielders, which I don't know if they are. But there are some guys available via trade or that could be available via trade that could make sense. So I wouldn't necessarily say it has to be, Pederson, Martinez, Soler, Justin Turner. I think there are some other potential names, potentially guys we haven't even talked about. It's pretty hard to gauge exactly, who's available in the trade market, what teams are willing to do. Mike Hazen used the word creative in that interview with Nick Picoro. So, maybe there's some kind of an outside the box solution that we're not thinking of here. So, I think there could be more on the table than we're really realizing right now.
I don't even want to put this out there in the universe, but I feel like this is going to result in us trading someone that's going to hurt. I don't know who. I think like Jake McCarthy is one of those guys that would hurt. But again, like you talked about the other day, is now a good time to trade him considering his value isn't very high. I'm not sure. Maybe some team would still see the potential in him. But I just I feel like this is potentially going to cost the Diamondbacks more than they want to pay, but they end up paying that. So we'll see. But you did also say heating up. And of course, that leads me to just remind everybody as to why you and I right now are appearing on this show on StreamYard. Damon and Totri have been fighting a lot. And the building also then caught on fire yesterday. Am I saying that those two things are related? No. Am I saying they're not related? No, I'm not saying that either. So, for the foreseeable future, we're going to be here on StreamYard. Jesse's going to leave me anyway, so I'll be here doing this. But yeah, if you didn't get a chance to see it, check out the Coyotes feed, their Twitter from last night. We were all off having a wonderful time at Putting World, watching the Suns beat the crap out of the Mavericks. By the way, this is also a PHNX Suns podcast. Jesse called yesterday's game in Damon's face before the game, the book game. And if you watched what happened last night, you will know that Jesse knows ball. Okay. And it's not just little round balls with stitches in it. Jesse knows the bouncy kind that are orange and have also other weird, little crevices in them. But anyway, we do appreciate you guys being here. Of course, we also appreciate those of you that are diehards. If you're not a diehard yet, make sure to sign up because last night was a blast. It was great seeing so many of our diehards out there. You can do so at gophnx.com. Of course, part of that package is getting yourself a free t-shirt from the phnxlocker.com, like this bad boy I'm wearing right now. Of course, there's a wonderful selection over there, so make sure to check that out. You will also get all of Jesse's content. You will get access to our Discord lounge where we are doing exclusive discussions with Jesse and I on the Discord lounge. Also, all sorts of other fun for diehards only. So make sure to get down on this. You also get discounts on events like last night's takeover, or it wasn't a takeover, it was a watch party event, but events that we do like that. You also get discounts with our partners and so much more. So join us today. Of course, one of our favorite partners is our people over at Illegal Pete's. It's your go-to spot for anytime it's patio season. Like, it's kind of cold and dreary out, but I just went for a run and it was delightful, right? It's not terrible out. Jesse has completely had his blood thin out, so he doesn't like the cold at all anymore. He wouldn't even survive in Seattle anymore during this time of the year, so we don't have to worry about losing him to moving back to Seattle. But it also means that Jesse has no gauge anymore for what is cold weather, but I will attest that this is good weather out here. You go enjoy this quick before it's gone, because it'll be gone before we know it. But patio season at Illegal Pete's, always a great time to go out there, try out their wonderful food. They have Arizona's strongest margaritas, and of course you'll also find Damon there all the time at the location in Tempe. He's probably producing the show right now from there. I have no way to verify that because he turned his camera off, so there's a good chance he's enjoying their piping hot queso and the margaritas that they have. But you can ring in the new year with Illegal Pete's weekly deals. Kick off the Monday blues with $3 margaritas all day long, and also you can ease your way back into the week with Taco Tuesdays, $2 tacos every Tuesday. If you work in healthcare or education, you can take your team to lunch at Illegal Pete's every Tuesday and enjoy buy one get one free entrees, and also unwind with their happy hour from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day. Illegal Pete's is your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beers. And of course, speaking of things that Damon and I very much also enjoy, OG's has launched their 2 new product lines with live rosin and Rick Simpson oil. It's their OG's Naturals and the Big OG's. Now, I am getting some sort of reputation around the office, Jesse, for my consumption of a single Big OG's, which is 100 milligrams. It's perforated, so you can cut it and break it into 10 milligram slices, but that's just a lot of work when I'm going to eat all 10 slices anyway, Jesse. So I feel like that's an unnecessary effort. It's inefficient. I'll just eat the whole thing. You can eat it as you will, as you want to, of course. But there's a lot of ridicule, including that I'm not fit to be mayor because I consume said 100 milligram OG's gummies, and that might be true. But anyway, it doesn't matter because being the mayor does not involve me. It's kind of like a figurehead position. I hate to break that to you guys. There is a lot of paperwork, though. I tell that to everybody that wants to be mayor so that they don't try to take my position. But OG's acknowledges me as their mayor, and I acknowledge OG's as the best edibles that you can find. Make sure to check them out. You can learn more about OG's gummies, where you can find them. Head over to ogsbrands.com. You can see their whole line, and get your favorite dispensary. What? They don't see that it's true. They don't drug test the mayor. That's another accurate statement.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. It's a very good thing. It's a very good thing. Another good thing, Jesse, is that it is MLB the Show time once again. It is time for MLB the Show 2024 to release, and of course, we have all sorts of fun.
Well, we're
arguments.
like 2 months away still from the actual
I mean, this is
released.
where the arguments start, Jesse, because it starts with the cover being released and who is on the cover. Then we get to fight about the ratings. That's the next fight, and that gets released before the game comes out, and then we argue about that, and then we play the game and we love the game, but then we argue about other things like what difficulty level people play the game on and why that's important. Let's just enjoy the game and stop worrying about what difficult level we play it on. But MLB the Show cover athlete announcement is coming on January 30th next week at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Is anybody, I know we're not all superstitious, but is anybody a little stitious about our favorite athletes being on the cover of video games any longer? Is that a thing? Because I still feel like it's not a good thing, Jesse. Right?
Oh,
I mean, Ohtani was on 22.
It dooms you.
Yeah, it dooms you. It dooms you. Ohtani was on 22. He ends up undergoing the elbow surgery, right? He's not going to pitch at all next year. We had Tatis on 21, and he had to have the wrist surgery right after he was on that. And then Jazz was on the cover of last year's, and he sucks. Right? He's not worthy of the cover. Anyway,
there are quite a few examples of players who were on the cover and were just fine. Bryce Harper was on it back in 2018, I want to say. Miguel Cabrera back when he was still when he was still in his prime. Yasiel Puig, you could make a case that he was his
definitely could make a case for you.
So there was some sort of a roadblock there. I don't know if MLB the Show is what we should be blaming, but yeah, this year is interesting because I feel like we all are going to unveil our top 3 choices for who we think the MLB the Show cover athlete will be. And I'm like 87% sure that our number 1 guy is going to be the same. All of us are going to have the same number 1 guy. So I guess should I just fire away? Should I give my 3? No. Okay.
Because even though we have our choices, no, I was going to say, even though we have our choices, Jesse, I think we can all agree that this is the most fire cover that there could be. Damon, do you have that cover ready to go? StreamYard's being slow today, you guys. It's not Damon's fault. Oh, look at that beautifulness right there, Jesse. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I don't want that though, because again, the other thing I said about the curse, but anyway,
it would doom Corbin Carroll's career forever if he was on the cover.
Look how beautiful he is on there. Glad we got the vest in on that one. All right, let's give our choices, of course. Yeah, Jesse, why don't you go ahead and lead things off? Because like you said, I think we all probably have the same number 1.
Yeah, I think we probably do. All right, I'll start at the end. So my number 3 choice, my third most likely, is one Mookie Betts, who's never been on the cover of MLB the Show. I believe he was on like RBI Baseball 16 or something a while back.
All right.
But it seems like a miss that Mookie Betts has never been on the cover of MLB the Show. Obviously, Mookie had a remarkable season, and for as great as a certain other player was in 2023, who ultimately wound up winning the MVP award. Talk about him in a second. Mookie Betts had an outstanding 2023 season. I think he's a guy, his personality, it seems like, the charisma of the player is a really big big variable here for MLB the Show. That's certainly been a trend year. I think Mookie Betts has that. He started his podcast and is doing all this fun stuff now.
He's better at everything than all of us. It doesn't matter what he does. He's better. He's a better podcaster than us. He's a better interviewer than us. He plays baseball better than most people. It's disgusting. It's sickening. He's nicer than most people. It's just crazy. It's crazy. I can't believe
he is a pretty likable guy for sure. Very, 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 very likable.
Are we gonna give all of our number 3s and then our number 2s and number 1s? Do you want to do that?
Sure, let's do it. Yeah, give me your number 3.
Well, I think again, and exactly with what you said about it being an exciting player. There's our guy Damon. We are Damon's dogs, of course. Bark, bark. Of course, this is. I'm glad he's here because I know this is going to infuriate him, and that's why I'm. Oh, he's gone again. He just got up and left because he's disgusted with what I'm about to say. It's Ellie De La Cruz. And again,
Wow.
it's because not because of numbers, but like Ellie De he's back. He set the world on fire. What can I say? I again, this to me is very similar as Jazz, right? Where Jazz wasn't by any stretch of the imagination like the best player in the league, but he was like the most exciting player, it felt like. And for at least a month and a half, Ellie De La Cruz was the most exciting player in Major League Baseball. So when it comes to that kind of thing, and him being young and just the name recognition that got out in over the course of one season, I feel like Ellie De La Cruz is a potential.
I think it was more like what, 8 days that Ellie De La Cruz was the most
Yeah.
exciting player.
That's fine.
I don't know if that lasted like a month or two.
They talked about him a lot. They talked about because it infuriated us. It infuriated Damon. The fact that he was getting so much more, publicity there for a stretch than Corbin Carroll was, and Corbin Carroll had been doing incredible things the entire season, not just for a week. But hey, that's
Ellie De La Cruz wasn't like Jazz was an all-star in 2022, and his numbers were quite good. Ellie De La Cruz wasn't an all-star, and his numbers were not really very good.
Look, you asked me specifically outside of the show for a stretch pick, and that's my stretch pick. My other two picks are very reasonable, but sometimes Major League MLB the Show and their choices aren't very reasonable. Do you remember Yasiel Puig being on the cover? We just talked about it a few moments ago. Like it doesn't make sense sometimes when you look at who was performing well in the league at the time and the decision that they went with. It does not line up.
All right, enough with your ridiculous pick, Derek. Damon, what do you got?
Well, I just want to say,
more mad than it made Damon.
I hate both of your picks, and I think you guys are both not good people. A Dodger, Jesse? Really? A Dodger? Yeah. That's what we're going with? And then a Rookie of the Year contender contender
for 5
against Corbin Carroll. Like, I thought these are our rivals, guys. Have some
What shame. If I went with James Outman? That would have really just
I thought about putting James Outman in there.
I would have quit.
Just for Damon.
I would have quit.
All right, who's your number 3?
Well, I was gonna say who everybody's gonna say for number 1 for number 3, but I'll save it for number 1 so that we could all be consistent together, because it's probably what it's gonna end up being. But I had some ideas that I was like, they're a little bit more creative than your guys' is no big deal. But I was thinking like we do like my first thought was a J-Rod with Ken Griffey on the cover with him.
All right.
And it's like it's like a generation to generation passing of the torch type of cover where it's like, oh, look at these very marketable guys that we have. It's, young all-star and J-Rod with, old Ken Griffey on the same cover, and we make like a cool theme out of that.
Yeah. Well, J-Rod was my second pick. So yes, we're definitely on the same wavelength in regards to that. It feels like Julio Rodriguez is a big miss to not have him on there. He's everything. He's everything you want representing Major League Baseball. He's just an awesome young player, and he should get this kind of acknowledgement. I almost feel strongly about that, more so than my number 1 pick, but it still feels like maybe because of the Mariners not really being super successful, it's going to hold it back. I don't know. It seems like a dumb reason.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't hold them back from Jazz Chisholm, right? Marlins
That's
in
right.
2022 we're not outstanding. Yeah, I also have Julio as my number 2. I think it's only a matter of time before he gets the honor of being on the MLB the Show cover, and absolutely, he has the charisma. He's a star level player. I know he struggled a little bit early in the 2023 season. He winds up putting up like a 6 WAR year anyway. He's the real deal, and absolutely should be on the cover before long.
All right, Damon, what do you got for your number 2?
Number 2, this is another creative idea I had, and I was thinking we put Orioles young players with Diamondbacks young players, and we make This is the future.
The future?
Exactly.
Damon, this is outrageous.
No.
It's not.
I love
though,
this
because,
idea.
Like Madden had a cover where they had Troy Polamalu and Larry Fitzgerald on it.
They did.
Like
They did.
like this is just being creative, Jesse. And I'm thinking we put like Adley and Gunnar and like Corbin and Gabby or something like that, and we it's just a sick cover, and the D-backs fans are juiced.
Well, see, I could see them doing, because it feels like covers on these sports games are leaning towards getting a bit more creative, like what you said with the Julio and Ken Griffey cover. So I like that idea. I love that idea because it has the Diamondbacks on it. Is it likely? No, you idiot, you fool. That's not happening. But the Rangers would even make more sense than the Baltimore Orioles. That's just you projecting who's going to be the best in both leagues. But I mean, at least having the World Series contender or the World Series, teams on it. That I like that idea a lot.
People are saying that I'm cooking.
People are saying it. I can not confirm that at all. But there it is. You're right. They are saying that. Oh, God damn it. This is too much. Like, see, this is why do you have all of the control of all of the comments? That's not fair. I feel like I wouldn't know if any of this is correct, but yeah, no. See, Jesse, this is how you placate. You just you throw the Diamondbacks in there. That's why I made the MLB the Show cover. All right, what do you?
I wasn't trying to like appeal to the crowd. All right, my goal here was to be.
Oh, I'm sorry that I had creative ideas that I came up with in my head. That's my bad, Jesse. I should have gone chalk. I should have picked the 3 leading MVP candidates and just picked them and put them down on a piece of paper.
I did what was correct, which was to go on FanGraphs, look up the leaderboard and wins above replacement, and just
I know that's what you did.
That's not exactly what I did, but that did lead me. That did lead me to my number one choice, which is
all of our number one choice.
It's Ronald Acuna Jr. We all know. I mean, the man puts up a 40-70 season in terms of the kind of season that this man had. I'm not sure if you could really have made a better case for being on the cover of MLB The Show. Generally speaking, like I look back at this and I don't necessarily think that the cover of MLB The Show is like typically the best player from the prior year. That test fails in the vast majority of cases. So I don't view this as being as inevitable as like maybe it should be on paper. But if ever you were going to put Acuna on the cover, which I think is an honor he probably deserves at some point, this is probably the year to do it.
It's definitely the forecasting the future feels like it would be Julio, right? That's like we're trying to get the next, but he's
on the horizon.
Yeah, but even he's here. He's not trying to find a player that's the future. Corbin Carroll is a bit more of one of those like trying to find the future of the game a little bit that not a lot of people might know. That's different now based on the Diamondbacks playoff run, but I still don't know if Corbin Carroll's become a household name. I feel like Julio Rodriguez kind of has. He has become a superstar in baseball, and a lot of people know who he is, and again, that's exciting, but Ronald Acuna has all of those intangibles that we talked about that you want on the cover. He led the league. His stats are there. He's on one of the best teams. He, is an exciting electric player. There's just everything you would want in a cover athlete for MLB The Show. He's it. So hopefully it brings him all sorts of bad luck next season. That's what we would, maybe want. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. See, Damon's nodding his head because again, he's a man of the people, Jesse. And we lost this round. We lost this round to Damon, obviously. So bark. We get it. You're the mayor now. I get it. Yeah. I don't like it.
Would you have like Randy? Was Randy Johnson your number one choice, Damon? Is that what?
No, it was Acuna. Okay. It was Acuna. I was gonna say Acuna 3 though, and then start doing the other ones towards 2 and 1.
And then Diamondbacks and Orioles were number 1. Yeah.
But you guys, I mean, I figured we all had Acuna. We were all gonna have Acuna as the most likely, so I was like, I'll just stick with that as number 1.
It seems the most likely, but we will find out coming here soon.
Can I name like a couple of players that I would just like to see on a cover like at some point in my lifetime?
Sure.
Garrett Stubbs? I think yes, Garrett Stubbs is number 1.
How
Nick
fucking
Castellanos
dare you?
Is number 2.
How dare you?
James out.
Him and the Philly Fanatic
about
together
earlier.
on the cover, Damon.
No, so I think Jose Ramirez just so underrated. Man deserves more credit than he gets. Feel like that has to happen at some point. Brett mentions that Mike Trout has still never been on a cover. It kind of feels like that ship has sailed at this point. I don't know if you can put Mike Trout on the cover, playing half the season or whatever. Bobby Witt Jr. in my mind is an MLB the Show cover level athlete, level baseball player. I don't know if we'll ever see that as long as he's with the Kansas City Royals. Francisco Lindor is another guy that comes to mind as someone who I feel like, certainly has the charisma, super fun player to watch. I know he plays for the Mets now, so people might not like me saying that, but people haven't liked pretty much everything I've said in this segment of the show. So what else is new?
Elise says Jesse is only saying this because they are filming remotely. Correct, because Damon would have.
I can get away with more. Yeah, Damon can't actually come up and.
Speaking of Damon, he's been killing it on bets over there, Jesse. He's been having. He didn't listen to you yesterday. He would have gone 3-0 with your help yesterday had he listened to you, right? But he went 2-1. I think that was his third day going 2-1. I'm not sure, but his record's been pretty good. So make sure to check him out, and then of course get down on the BetMGM Sportsbook app. You can download the app using. You can do it on iOS, Android, or visit their website at betmgm.com. Sign up and use our bonus code of PHNX, and when you do, all you got to do is deposit $5 into your newly created account. Spend that $5 on a standard odds price bet. And once you do all of that, you will get $158 in bonus bets back instantly, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Then that way you can take that $158 in bonus bets, spread it around on a couple of Damon's choices over at Bets, and he will double, triple that money potentially. So again, sign up for BetMGM and use that bonus code PHNX. That's the important part. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through the BetMGM Sportsbook mobile application for at least $5. You will receive that $158 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Damon talk about the disclaimer.
Problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms. This promotional offer is not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. We did it that time,
Derek.
Too slow. It's sorry, man. It's the disconnect. But we want to thank you guys for being here and listening to us try to harmonize on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do so. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. And drop us a thumbs up. Those likes are important to us. They feed our heart. They feed our soul. Of course, if you're listening on the audio side, we love you guys. We appreciate you listeners as well. Make sure you subscribe. Leave us a review. We always appreciate those 5-star reviews. They really do help us out quite a bit. I right now am in my home, far away from the office that does not have power, does not have electricity, and we have no idea when it's going to have that once again. But I'm glad I have this home because I don't know where I would be podcasting from right now without it. Of course, I have to thank our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union for getting me in this home. They started me on my home ownership journey, and they can help you out as well. They also have checking and savings accounts. They have loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. So make sure that if you are banking with a credit union, you are choosing a credit union that has your best interest in mind for your financial future. And for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union. Right now, when you open a free checking account online, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200 today. Jesse, before we get out of here, we have to talk about the internet and the bad side of the internet, right? We have to talk about the fact that sometimes things come up on the internet that you don't want to see. And sometimes that's not, you're not searching for that. You're not looking for that. You didn't want it in your face. You're trying to have a productive day. And the next thing you know, you have just something absolutely grotesque and just horrible staring you in the face. And that's exactly what happened to me yesterday, because suddenly I got a notification.
The Diamondbacks got their DH, Derek. Is that what
they got saying? Their DH, Jesse. Oh my God. When this my phone notifies me, Jesse, about Diamondbacks related news. I got this notification, Jesse, on January 24th, 2024. As you can see here, the Associated Press republished an article that said the Arizona Diamondbacks recalled heralded outfielder Yasmany Thomas from AAA Reno on Tuesday to give them a spark off the bench. Now, did any of this make any sense to me at all in the moment? No. Did I stop to ask reasonable questions, Jesse, as to why when obviously yesterday was not a Tuesday, but of course when they were talking about this and it came up yesterday, they could have meant the day before, which was in fact a Tuesday. Like everything was lining up with this. I didn't like it at all, and I hate the fact that apparently this could happen. Yasmany Thomas can indeed reappear on your timeline and haunt your dreams the way it did mine. What happened with this? Can you explain this? Can you make any sense of this? Why did this come up yesterday?
I have absolutely no idea, but I think it's one of the greatest, it might be the greatest Diamondback story of the offseason.
I have a stitch in my side right now. I've been running. It's like it hurts my body physically just to look at that article.
Someone at the Associated Press knew that, Diamondbacks fans were looking for a DH and they wanted JD, they wanted Jorge Soler, and they were like, "Oh, we'll give him a DH. We'll give him someone who can help out and hit some dingers and whatnot." And shout out to Yasmany Thomas, Derek, who in 2015 looked like a pretty reasonably good baseball player for a while. He hit 273, had a 707 OPS. He followed it up the next year. He had 31 homers. And people were starting to gain a bit of a soft spot for the young Cuban outfielder whom the Diamondbacks
soft
signed.
Is a perfect word to use. Soft was a perfect word to use there in regards to Yasmany Thomas.
Yeah, his Diamondbacks career didn't exactly pan out that way. But yeah, maybe the people at Associated Press just wanted us to, look back and relive some good memories,
Ernesto says more like Yasmany no mas. Thank you very much for that. Can we get that last comment back on the screen? Because this is a real choice of two terrible things, but I feel like this is an easy choice. Tony asks, what's worse, seeing Tomas in a D-backs uni again or seeing Dave Stewart as GM again? 1,000% seeing Dave Stewart as GM again. Yasmany Thomas in a D-backs uniform can only hurt you in one spot in the lineup, in one spot in your rotation.
Just because he's in a D-backs uniform doesn't necessarily mean you have to play him, right? Whereas if Dave Stewart is your GM, then he's your GM.
He might be a ball boy. He might be a number of things that doesn't involve him actually playing on the field, Jesse. He might be a fan in the stands, just hanging out over in section 301. I don't know.
He's wearing his full uniform from 2019.
Just in case. Yeah, just in case. Like at any point, if maybe they need somebody to fill in, he can rush the field. But I again, even if we were talking about him literally being on the roster, I would take that over the terrible, terrible decisions Dave Stewart made while in control of this team. And I mean, I don't think we've even scratched the surface on really the self-serving decisions that were made that almost ruined this franchise. And we should all be thankful that it was put in Mike Hazen's hands. My comparison, once again, is he was handed a broken vase and expected to put it back together, and it took him a long time. But damn it, all those cracks are filled in now, and that vase looked pretty spectacular in the postseason in 2023. So Mike Hazen all day. We do appreciate you guys, though, of course, being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. We thank you as always, for stopping by. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at @cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse and Friedman. Our producer, Damon, who is apparently always correct. He is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. He is the people's producer for a reason, and we are Damon's dogs for a reason. Bark, bark.
Bark, bark.
Of course, our show's at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for stopping by. We appreciate your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when we never speak Yasmany Thomas's name again.
We all silly like the mayor.